All right. Well, hello and everybody. Welcome to the first ever talk show thingy-majig that doesn't have a fucking name yet. Hopefully the cast goes decently well, and hopefully we have a good time. I've got here with me, we've got Nakabroodwar in, there we go. That window right there, window number 1. And then in window number 2, we have Lovesnow as well.
The meaty chest slaps.
I've got the link to both of their Twitches below, and you guys can check them out. Do you guys have YouTube channels and stuff too? I don't know.
I do. My links for mine is in my Twitch, so they can get it from there.
Okay.
Haven't learned how to really edit yet, so no YouTube.
That's fair.
Editing is a pain.
Haven't taken the time yet.
That's totally fair.
It's part of the reason my videos are lacking on being put out recently.
Same. Well, kind of same here. I basically have just been like doing the like broadcast directly to YouTube option after like with Twitch or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that's working. I haven't really fucking checked my YouTube, so I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know. I've been ripping my VODs, and I intend on like stripping out the good games and posting like FP VODs for people to watch, but I haven't actually got around to doing it yet.
Yeah, like highlight videos would probably be epic, right? But
it takes so much time to edit all that.
Right.
So what I was kind of thinking that we just kind of start out on so far was like, if we want like just kind of, I don't know, like your background in the game, kind of like why you play it, kind of like what your thoughts are on it, why you got into it, why it's your main one that you play, if it is the main one you play, and just kind of shit like that.
Fair. Do you want to go first, Lovesnow?
Sure. Yeah. All right. Let's dive right on into this.
I mean, you know.
So the question is, what got me into StarCraft? Is that what we're starting off with?
Sure. Yeah. Let's start there.
I figure you're the younger guy, so your story's got to be more interesting than mine.
Well, what got me into StarCraft?
Like,
I don't know. A lot of my viewers probably know I have a brother. I don't know if you guys know I have a brother, but my brother is 10 years older than me, and he's actually South Korean and Mexican, my father's first marriage.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up in a household with a Korean. So he actually got into StarCraft because our uncle was a big computer gamer and like Warhammer and D&D and stuff like that. So he was big into those type of games.
Mm-hmm.
And he introduced my brother and my cousin at the time, when they were probably like about 15 or 16 years old, to Blizzard. And at the time they were playing like Warcraft 1 and I know Command and Conquer wasn't a Blizzard game, but they were messing around with like Command and Conquer and whatnot. And one day, StarCraft came out, and my uncle kind of got my brother into playing it. He would go visit him on the weekends, and my brother and my cousin would just nerd out and just play StarCraft for like hours and hours, doing like basically just campaign stuff and just having fun with it.
It's like more like single player stuff.
Yeah, all single player stuff at the time. I think there was multiplayer back then, but it was probably very difficult to connect people. I mean, this is back when like dial-up was the stuff, like
had to kill a robot to get online.
Yeah, So at some point, my brother ended up, like, we had a family computer in the house, and he ended up downloading StarCraft on there. And I remember being like 6 or 7 years old, and I would never play. I would just watch my brother play, and he would just be playing nothing but like Sunken Defense and Fastest and campaign missions, and I would just like sit behind him in like a chair like so, and like he would just be playing right in front of me, just nerding out, gaming. And I remember thinking as a kid, like, oh, like one day, like I'm gonna get good enough to beat him. Like one day I'm gonna learn how to play this game well enough that I'll be able to take him down. And
on a fastest map, or
I mean, back then that's all I knew was Fastest. I didn't even know about low money. Eventually, I learned about like BGH and hunters and stuff like that. But started off on Fastest, and not even started off on Fastest. I started off on UMSs, dude. Like just playing like Crash RPG and playing Sunken D and playing Cat and Mouse and stuff like that.
UMSs, UMSs. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's kind of what got me into StarCraft was seeing my brother play it and like kind of having that desire to one day catch up to him and surpass him and be able to take him down in a game.
The $1 million question: did you ever?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious myself.
Yeah, I mean, my brother now is like F rank, dude. And
Fair enough. He doesn't actually play actively. Got it.
Yeah. He never got too deep into the low money stuff. He never played iCup or anything like that. I mean, I was like at the time, like that's back when I was like 7 when I first started playing. I remember being like in middle school, and I would wake up at like 5 in the morning before school so I could hop onto the Korean server and play like 100 games with Koreans and stuff like that before school started. Like
at 7,
like, middle school. Well, that was more like when I was like 10. I
started okay.
In like 6th grade, like end of 5th grade, 6th grade. Okay. I started like taking StarCraft a little bit more serious. I guess I don't know if serious is the right word, but I started just having that desire to get better at the game and like wanting to play with better players and try to learn the game. At the time, I thought that was learning the game properly. Was playing hunters and shit, you know. So that was fun. I didn't really find a race for a long time. I mean, I remember when I was first starting to play, there was like YouTube videos of like montage or like highlights of like 20 whatever. I think it was like 2008 or something, or 2007 at the time. And I was like, dude, Protoss is fucking overpowered, bro. Like, they got like Maelstrom and they got Storm and they got Recalls and Stasis. So like I immediately kind of went to that Protoss scene. Yo, Chisel, thank you for the biddies, bro. I appreciate it. So I immediately started playing Protoss a lot more and more. And then like when I was playing Protoss in the Hunter scene, I was just like, dude, like, you know what? Fucking Zerg is the way to play it. Like Zerg is so good. You just 9 full speed every game and you can get damage done and really like have some fun with the game. Just like the way you can split your lings up and have really good control. You can really impact the early game. And so I was like playing Zerg for a period of time, and I really like. For you guys both know me now, like I'm a Terran player now, but it wasn't until like the later, like many years later, that I started playing Terran. That I don't even know. Hold on, like just to stay on topic. So the first question was what introduced me to StarCraft. What was the second question?
Well, I think it was kind of just like why you choose to play that primarily, or if you don't play it primarily, like kind of what do you play primarily, kind of thing.
Okay, gotcha.
Because I think that's
easy answer to that, dude. Like fucking StarCraft's the best game ever created.
Agreed.
Hands down. It's
hands
just
down.
Like the most technical, the most speed oriented, the most like it's such a well built RTS. It's so balanced. I know everyone complains about every other race and their main race being the most overpowered, but at the end of the day, dude, everything is so balanced. Everything comes down to execution and mind games and just there's a little bit of rock paper scissors to it, you know. Definitely with the openers there can be slight advantages here and there, but almost like a game of chess, you can kind of open however the fuck you want, and if you're the better player, you're gonna win the game.
Well, that actually does lead into one of the questions I have. I think it's like 2 or 3 down, so we'll get into like the balancing of the game and stuff, because I think that's something that I would be really nice to touch on for like any newer players that watch this cast like later on, or anybody that's watching now that's newer, is to like just kind of have the idea of like what that is, because this is actually kind of what I wanted to also make the cast mostly about, was like trying to grow the scene, right? Like try to have like more people joining and all that kind of shit, because it's a fucking 25-year-old game. Like if you don't put the time in and you don't know people, like it's kind of hard to get into. So
it is difficult to get into for sure.
Ooh, I have so many answers to that, but I guess we'll save that for a moment, I suppose.
All right.
I'm sure that's going to be a good discussion.
Oh gosh.
Well, I suppose, Naka? Do you want to go with your
sure.
kind of background in it?
So my dad was really big into Blizzard games. We actually got Diablo 1 probably not too long after it released, and we both played the crap out of it, enjoyed the heck out of it. When Diablo 2 released, we of course got that immediately and played that for fun on the side. But when Brood War released, it was actually StarCraft. This was before the Brood War expansion. We actually went and lined up and got it basically the day after it launched. So my history with StarCraft actually starts before the Brood War expansion, technically. I didn't actually get to play a lot back then. It was mostly my dad playing and me watching. But eventually he decided that it wasn't a game that he enjoyed. And since back then everything was with CDs, if you didn't have the CD, you couldn't run it. I was finally allowed to actually play it when I wanted to play it because he was no longer interested in it. So
Fair.
the Brood War expansion eventually came out, and I had to talk my dad into getting it because StarCraft really wasn't his thing, but I really enjoyed it. And then, my start was pretty much the same as I think most people's starts. I got on, back in the day, there was the Blizzard ladder, which was just you join any like melee-based map, non-use map settings. If you win, you get points. If you lose, you don't get points. And it was full of people just posting the weirdest things. And but outside of that, I mostly played use map settings. Bounds were a really big favorite of mine, which is like an obstacle course type of thing. They'd later developed into like dodging explosions and trying to get through a course of explosions. That was one of my favorite things. One of my really close friends at the time, it was maybe 2001, 2000, finally got me into playing low money maps. And he would beat the crap out of me every single time, but it was a friend and it was a learning experience and I actually enjoyed it. And that got me into taking it a bit more competitively. He got me the information and the download for the Abyss server, which later became iCup. And from there, it was kind of history. I played from 2001 to about 2004, 2005, fairly regularly. And then I took a long break for Diablo 2. That same friend ended up getting us into Diablo 2. And actually, fun fact, had one of the biggest clans on US East at the time. It was Clan Ecstasy. Because we were edgy little teenagers at the time. And then I eventually came back to Brood War temporarily, and kind of the interest waned. StarCraft 2 came out, and I was like, I'm going to get on the ground floor. I came into Brood War late, the competitive scene late. I never really got high. I think my best was a B-, and that was like when I played my heart out for like 8 months straight, and that was the best I could ever accomplish, which was good, but like not
Fuck, man,
good.
it's better than me. Jesus Christ.
No, my average was like C. I almost every season I was like C and IC Cup. But StarCraft 2 came out and I was like, okay, this is my chance to get in StarCraft on the ground floor. I'm feeling, familiar with the competitive scene. I know how the game plays. I'm gonna hop into it, and I played the heck out of StarCraft 2 for probably the first 6 months of its release. I tried to do the tournament scenes. I joined a team, and StarCraft 2 just didn't grasp me. But fortunately, Remastered came out, and I kind of played that off and on, and then COVID hit, and that got me really, really back into it because I had nothing to do except sit at home and play video games, and all of my games were starting to feel stale, and I was like, I'm feeling like a competitive game, but I don't like League, I don't like MOBAs. CSGO, I did the FPS for a while, and it's not my thing, so back to StarCraft, and here we are now. As far as like, is it the game I play the most? Probably not. If I played it a lot more actively, I could definitely do a lot better than I do. But I definitely am the kind of person that like I'll play it pretty religiously for like 2 weeks, and I'll take a month break to go play like other games. That's like Oxygen not included is one that I play regularly, or like grand strategy games. I always did enjoy strategy style video games. So while Brood War is like the love of my life of video games, I've got my side girls of video games as well, and occasionally they need some attention too. So I definitely don't focus on Brood War as much as I probably should, but yeah, that's pretty much my history with Brood War and kind of my stance as a gamer currently as far as Brood War is concerned. I love it, but
yeah,
it's a huge time sink that I don't always feel like I want to put the effort into.
Well, and it's like, it's not even like the individual matches that's a time sink. It's the fucking practice. Like, you have to practice this game like so much. Like, I'm currently in a spot of just like taking a break for a while because I was just getting so tilted like all the time. It just like I'd practice this one particular matchup for like a week straight. I'd have like somebody coaching me through it and doing whatever, and then I'd get to that like really important game. Well, really important, quote unquote. It's not like there's money on the table, but it's really important for like CPL or NOM or like NSL or whatever it is. And then like I'd make one tiny little mistake and the whole fucking game just blows up, and it's like, God damn it.
No, that definitely happens.
Yeah.
No, but you're not wrong. Like, I started off playing Protoss. That was my first race. I was actually on the fence between playing Protoss and Zerg because edgy teenager, you got swordy boys with sword hands or the crazy looking alien Zerg things. But I started with Protoss, and I eventually switched to Zerg because I just felt like PvZ was impossible back in the day. But this is before we knew about Korean pros and before BSU and all that, and But no, I remember spending like probably 5 or 6 weeks straight of just having my friend like marine rush me or tank rush me, things like that, just so I could practice like max ranging my dragoons and stopping them and controlling them where they wouldn't start to clump up and stay in lines and things like that. Like, it was 6 weeks of just grinding out nonstop. Just, hey, help me practice this one thing until I finally felt like I was comfortable with it and confident with it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I feel like as a group we've gotten a lot better at that. It doesn't take as long to like learn that kind of stuff and practice it, but back in the day, man, no one knew anything. We were all figuring it out.
It sounds like Naka and I both have a similarity on, or maybe everybody in general, that you start off with the UMSs, it seems like. When you first start playing, you have no confidence in playing that multiplayer yet. You know, maybe you're just barely able to beat computers here and there. So, yeah, you feel fun. You want to play the game, but you're like, you know, I don't want to stress out playing a game. I know, like, anxiety is a big thing with multiplayer and maybe any game, but maybe specifically StarCraft. That's a very big highlight of it.
Dude, anxiety
so a lot
will
of
crush
people
you.
are just fucking like you said, like, get tilted, man. And it's like, it's hard because it's not like you have a teammate to blame for why you lost the game, dude. It's a one-on-one. It's all you, bro.
It's all you.
100%.
Dude. The only person you can look at is yourself in the mirror. Like, oh shit, dude, I could have played this better.
And I
So
feel
think
like
a lot of us start off with UMS.
And I feel like that's the most frustrating piece of it. It's kind of the same thing with chess too. It's like any strategy game where it is a one-on-one, like the pieces are there for, like, you have all the tools necessary to win. So you can't blame somebody unless somebody's blatantly like cheating, like if they're like map hacking or some shit like that. Then you can obviously, there's nothing you can really do. But even people that do that, like there's a video on YouTube of Flash like going against some dude that was like doing like an infinite money hack or whatever. And he lasted in that game for like 20-something minutes, and it was like, fucking Jesus. It's like,
I mean, I've beaten infinite money hackers before. They were really, really bad players, but you know, you run into that on occasion, and yeah, it's a skill-based game. You can overcome some obstacles.
I feel like another thing that was common for Naka and I was the fact that we both made the grand return with Remastered coming out. That was a big thing for me. I mean, I was big on before this League of Legends. I was like a really strong top laner. I almost moved to Canada to play on a professional team when I was playing at my peak in League of Legends. I was really having a lot of fun with that. I got really deep into WoW. I was playing that up until like Kata, and then ended up coming back to WoW when Classic relaunched, and that was taking up a lot of my time. I was having a lot of fun with it. I never left the staples though. Like even Brood War, even then I was still playing now and then just to fuck around on. And Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction always has a special place in my heart. I've always came back and played that one as well. But Remastered was really like the big like, oh shit, dude, like StarCraft's back. Like I remember StarCraft. Like that was like my favorite game. Like always, like the only game that comes to mind that's as close to as meaningful to me as StarCraft Brood War was Call of Duty World at War on the Xbox 360. That game was so fun, dude. When they first, like, I was a big multiplayer guy. I was a sniper guy. Like, I had like all my loadouts were all just different versions of snipers with different equipment and stuff like that. But Nazi Zombies, dude, when that came out for the first time, that was so hype, dude. It was so fun to play with people.
Well, I mean, so I'm actually personally, like, I'm actually kind of the opposite. I actually never really did much use map setting stuff. I still, even to this day, I haven't really fucked around with it too much. Like, friends of mine have like recommended stuff, and like I really liked what was it? It's Special Forces. I fucking love Special Forces. That
like Impossible Missions type of shit.
Kind of. Special Forces was kind of cool though, because you could like upgrade your Marine and like get more units like as you killed stuff. So it was kind of like, I don't know, it was almost like a cookie clicker, like tycoon type game, but for fucking.
They were really popular for a while. I think they probably still are.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of them that are all downloaded and stuff, but yeah. So I mean, I never really fucked around with them, but my thing was that like I just played single player. We didn't have two computers in the house. We didn't have any kind of like internet capability really to like play online, so like all we had was dial-up, so my parents would never let me play online because they couldn't make phone calls. So essentially I Lovesnow's screen's like crazy. There we go.
Just trying to find a way to get both of you guys' pictures on my screen.
Oh no, you're good, dude. But like, yeah, I never really did any of the use map setting stuff. Like my whole thing was, I went to BlizzCon the year before StarCraft 2 came out, and I remember playing that because we got a free demo for it for going. And so I remember playing that in the hotel room, and like I finally, for the first time ever, played against my sister, like StarCraft, because we both played it growing up. And I was like, this is the sickest shit. Like playing somebody else in StarCraft, like, oh my fucking God, it like blew my mind. And so I started like watching StarCraft 2 matches. I started like really getting into it during like Wings of Liberty. And then I was like, well, if StarCraft 2 is this interesting, I wonder what StarCraft 1 would be like, since that's the game that I would still go back and play because I preferred it. And then I kind of fell off for a little while, and then Remastered came out with an actual like ladder system that was like actually, well, it's not really that great of a ladder system, but it's still a ladder system that's like integrated. So then from there it was just like, okay, this is all I'm doing. Like I'm not a StarCraft 2 fan at all. I don't like StarCraft 2 personally. It's just a little weird. But anyway,
I got nothing against the StarCraft 2 fans, but yeah, it's kind of the same boat. StarCraft 2 killed my interest in StarCraft for a while.
Yeah. And no, I agree with you too. I don't want to be like talking shit on StarCraft 2 in any way, shape, or form, because I think it is a great game. I just prefer like older games, to be perfectly honest with you. So I prefer.
Oh
Remastered.
man, whatever, dude. StarCraft 2's trash.
Coming with the hot takes. All right. Okay, so I do have a question for the both of you, which is, what is your opinion on the balancing between the three races?
Zerg's OP.
Says the Terran to the Zerg.
If we're being 100% completely honest, every single race is 100% OP. Every single race has some ridiculous things they can pull off, and that's why the game works. Because everything is so broken that nothing's actually broken. I
actually completely agree. Like, explain a vulture to somebody that's never played this game.
Yeah, it's a unit that can moving shot without ever being hit, lays down mines that can kill almost everything. 3 of them. It only costs 75 minerals. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but
25 minerals more than a worker. Like
25 minerals more than a worker. But you know, vultures can win a game. An insane mine can break a game, but you know, most of the time they're a unit that everyone knows how to play around and everyone knows how to work around, so it's not busted. Storm the same way. Plagues, you know, Dark Swarm's kind of the same way. People have learned to adapt to these ridiculous, insane spells and ridiculous and insane units. And it helps that, you know...
An energy unit that can just eat whatever to get more energy. That's
an irradiate unit that can just freely walk in and irradiate. You know,
there's Nidus Canal that gives you map fucking instant transportation anywhere on the map, dude. Nidus Canal is dumb. The filers are busted.
Basic infantry cost.
Mutas, if controlled properly, are like the strongest unit in the game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, dude, come on, bro. Overlords, I have to make supply anyway. Why can't my pylons float across the map and give me vision? Why can't my freaking depots just go everywhere around the map and give me vision and be detectors for me? Why can't my depot be a turret as well, dude?
I don't know. I got kind of a similar, like, for me, honestly, just because I'm lower rank and stuff, and so I'm not good at like noticing the signs and things like that for it. But ultras are the unit that I fucking hate more than anything. Like, well, defilers definitely, but ultralisks, oh my fucking god! Like, if you're like playing and you're at a point where you're like, yeah, I'm finally comfortable. I'm not being pressured too much. Like, I'm able to expand. Everything's going great. Boom, 14 ultras just fucking break down the front door. It's like, god damn it, I didn't scout. Like, and there's nothing you can do. Once they're in your base, you're just fucking dead. Unless you're like, you have a massive army and you're like perfect on your macro and stuff like that. But I'm sure Lovesnow.
Zergs have that freaking hack, dude, where if they're just macroing battle all game and they get to high tech, they just make 12 ultras, like you said. Like, they just got 3k in the bank. It's like, well, I'll just make these.
Yep.
Pretty good unit.
And then if you got extra, just build some defilers so you can make them invincible while they run into your base. But I will say, though, like, you know, Terrans, like, if you have a line of siege tanks, like if you have them in a line or like whatever it is, like you can't break that. You really you can't. You have to have, if you're a Terran player, you have to have like twice the tanks. If you're a Protoss player, you have to like really know what you're doing to like drop zealots on top of it. If you're a Zerg, you have to have defilers. You have to have some kind of stronger unit.
I don't know. Every Protoss player makes it look like I don't ever have enough tanks.
Same. Fucking same.
Yeah, PvT is a hard matchup. I don't. When I play Terran, I don't know how do you do it. I don't get it.
Stasis is so down, dude.
I know, dude. Oh my god, fucking stasis.
Well, TVZ, yeah, Zerg's got some insane stuff, but at least your primary unit costs 50 minerals. You can make a ton of armies off of 2 bases.
Yeah, but you got to know how to control them too. So if you're not,
yeah,
I
mean that's the thing, dude. TVZ, it's like bio's fantastic, but try controlling 7 control groups of units in the late game, dude. It's difficult, man. Trying to micromanage your vessels, keeping them alive from scourge, dodging plagues, casting the irradiate, like scanning ahead to be able to cast irradiates on everything you need to cast it on.
All of that while also expanding and while also making sure your fucking SCV isn't telling you I can't build there and not fucking building your second supply depot right next to the other one.
So I mean, like, here's the thing you got to remember though. If we're talking like a Terran's almost always going to be max way before a Zerg is. But if a Zerg hits that max army, you only have 4 control keys to control 200 units, most of which are going to be Zerglings. Like, late game Zerg is insane. You have to control an army that's way too big to control. You're macroing from several different bases. If you're lucky, you'll still have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0 hatcheries, and then your 4th base that you took, you'll have a bunch of macro hatcheries there. But sometimes you don't get that that option. Sometimes you have hatcheries all over the place, and you still need to use those hatcheries. Like, you're bouncing around between all the bases. You're trying to send massive armies around. There's a reason that a lot of pro games, like especially back in the old days, was just Ling run bys and Ling run bys and Ling run bys. You'd see like 2 control groups of Lings go over here, and then a couple of control groups of Lings over there with some defilers, and like there was never. It's not like StarCraft 2. There's, especially in TVZ, there's rarely one big battle, and the game is a won or lost there.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I was watching a VOD of Jaedong playing like a couple days ago, and what I was noticing he was doing was like he actually just would like, because he doesn't really use hotkeys. I think he only uses like 1, 2, and 3 for his units or some shit like that. Now, granted, I don't fucking know I don't know the dude. So I don't know what he genuinely does, but from what I heard, he only uses like 1, 2, and 3 for army, and the rest is all hatches. And he basically just controls his army by rally pointing his army into that. That's why he's always attacking everything all the fucking time, is because his units are already on the move out to there. So he just grabs a couple of them, 1, 2, and 3, and then assigns them to those micros with those, and then moves over to another group, and then micros with those.
I can believe it. Even I only have 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, I would say. I didn't know he rallies it to the base per se, but yeah, I assume that's kind of how Zerg macro is. You just box click places on the map because you literally can't control it. You have to hotkey your hatcheries.
It's the one convenience of Zerg macro is your hatcheries are your production, so it's really easy to hotkey them all. It's really easy to reset rally points. So that's how most Zergs play. Is your rally points are being reset constantly. The only time that changes is when you get into super late game and you have more hatcheries than you can hotkey. But even then, it's usually 1 clump at 1 base for those extra macro hatcheries. And so it's just, F4 to those and box click. And then, you might have to drag and click to the mini map to rally, or, put an F3 where you want your rally to be an F4, F3, F4, F3, whatever. But especially in the early game and mid game, like, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. That's all the hatcheries you're going to have. It's super, super easy to reset rally points constantly. And like, even I do that. I do it more proactively in ZVP, where I'll rally to the front of the Protoss base, and if they start coming out and start breaking me, then I'll re-rally elsewhere, and I'll box units that are already rallying across the map and bring them where I need them. But no, you can't hotkey your army as a Zerg. In ZVP, you maybe can get away with it. Obviously ZVZ, because it's very rare you go above 2 control groups.
Yeah, I was gonna say in ZVZ it's pretty easy to do that.
In ZVP, it's part of the reason why I'm so aggressive in ZVP, because as long as I stay below 48 Hydras, I can have them all in control groups and control them really well.
So this will actually kind of, since we're on the topic of control, I had another question that I kind of wanted to like bring to the group. So what is the most annoying unit to fight against, and what is the most annoying unit to control, and why?
For like each race?
Just anything in general. The first one that comes to your mind.
Reavers.
I will actually agree with Reavers. Yeah.
To fight
Like
against or control?
TVP Reavers, like if Protoss has good control with Reavers, man, it's fucking challenging, man. Especially if they're using high ground, like
Mhm.
on Polypoid, like taking you third against Reavers is so difficult. FS I have banned because it's unplayable. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, any Protoss that knows how to play Reavers, when they deny your third with freaking that high ground advantage, it's like can't even take your third.
All you gotta do is watch a Snowvod where he just goes mass scout behind it because 2 Reavers are pulling back an entire Terran army.
Yeah.
No, it's the same for Zerg. Like there's other ones I could bring to the forefront, but playing against Reavers as Zerg is also just as annoying. If it's Corset Reaver, it's not so bad because like even if you take damage, their army is so weak because of the cost that goes into the Corsairs and the Reavers that like, oh well, I lost 20 drones. I'll just remake them. You're not attacking me anytime soon. But when he goes into late game, I will fight a million late game Protoss armies that don't have Reavers over one Protoss army that does have Reavers. It's so ridiculously difficult to deal with Reaver plus Storm plus Zealot plus Archon. Like it's the amount of over control that I have to do to beat that army
Mhm.
is just ridiculous. Like the only thing they really need to micro is throwing out storms and making sure I don't snipe the Reavers for free. The rest of it's all a click.
Mhm.
So it really does feel like you're fighting an uphill battle where you have to out control your opponent.
Well, and what's interesting too, like, because like to your point with the Reaver play and all that stuff, like, Naka, you're high B, Lovesnow, you're A. Like I'm in the trenches, like I'm in F and E. You know what I mean? Like people don't have that kind of control, so instead they're relying on other things that are easier to control to like do stuff, equally as annoying, but like. I don't have any experience with that truly. I mean, I have been picked apart by Reavers before, but not to the extent like of somebody in a higher rank, like C plus, B plus, like things like that. Because it's a totally different experience. The game changes completely as you go to those different tiers of play. So I mean, I don't know. I've never really personally experienced it, but I can see that being the most annoying thing in the entire fucking world.
I mean, I will also argue Defilers are very difficult to play against too. These Terran units, they naturally kind of bunch up when you move them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of. I mean, maybe all units in general kind of do that, but for Terran specifically, it probably hurts the most to get plagued because, like, I mean, yes, it hurts Protoss too, but they still have shield, and like Zerg units. I mean, you're not going to see plague really in ZVZ unless it's like uber late game Muta versus Muta where you have plague and freaking devourers on the map and shit like that. But playing against Zergs that know how to control the Defilers well in the mid to late game in TVZ is also really challenging because I don't know why Zergs. I mean, I'm probably all the Terrans are gonna hate me for saying this, but I don't know why Zerg players don't abuse the Nidus Canal more in TVZ. Maybe it's just too taxing on Zerg, but you can like
APM, yeah.
You can like dodge irradiates with Nidus Canal, dude. Like, if a vessel clicks on your Defiler to irradiate it, and you like the animation goes off in the vessel, but the Defiler jumps into the canal, it dodges the irradiate, and then you can immediately just send it back there. And like that's very taxing. It's probably very difficult to pull off, but Zergs that do that shit, dude, it's just like what the fuck, bro? Like irradiate's my only way to beat this thing, and like they're doing that and they're dodging it. They're getting dark swarms to just buy time. I'll have like a max Terran army. They're at like 100 supply and they're holding off my fucking push. It's so annoying.
That one I have experienced. Getting plagued. Like, there's been a few times where there's actually a couple of CPL games where there's like a perfect example of this where late game I had this big army. I was macroing just fine, but unfortunately I don't have the control to control 5, 6, 7 groups of Marines, kind of like we were talking about a little bit ago, and then like 1, maybe 2 plagues, and then all they need is like just a couple of Zerglings, just rips the entire fucking army to shreds. And if you can't control well enough to control against that, there's nothing you can do.
I will say I don't agree with the Plague being better against Terran than against Protoss. I think Plague is more devastating against Protoss. I do think that when Plague comes out against Protoss, usually it isn't as devastating because at that point you usually have the Reaver High Templar army, so your army's a lot better at fighting against Filers. But if you can get Plague out before you have that army, I think Plague rips apart Protoss more than Terran, for the simple fact that Terran or Protoss armies are a lot more expensive.
That's fair.
And Terran usually has more macro behind it. There's usually less gateways than there are barracks in production.
Well, I'll argue this. Like, sure, you can get a juicy plague on in ZVP, and like that's going to be very beneficial. You'll probably win that fight, or over time, you're going to lower the class of their army because they're maxed out already. They can't make new units. It's going to lower their HP greatly. But in TVZ, you live or die by your vessel control. If you're playing
The vessels is the big one, yeah. If you get a plague
you
on all
have
the
like
vessels,
a
that's
cloud of
really
vessels, like 10 vessels, and they all get plagued, and then all of a sudden a muta comes by and blows up all your vessels. The game is almost unwinnable, especially if Zerg is already on 3 or like if Zerg's on 4 bases, it's GG basically. If they're on 3, it's still kind of playable, but if they're on 4, dude, you're just like when they play your cloud and then kill it off with Meta, like you're really in a tough spot. So
No,
I
you do have a point there.
Maybe it's better against Protoss, but I don't know.
Protoss can't literally insta-lose if you get a good plague off, but Terran can. I'll give you that. You're right in that one. Like, if you get a plague on literally every vessel and actually kill them all, Terran literally has no answer to any Zerg units anymore. Terran's entire game is reliant on those science vessels staying alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's true at any level, like 100%. Okay, so then the inverse of that question. What is your favorite unit to play against, and what is your favorite unit to control?
Mutalisk is my favorite to control by far, easily. The question asked, Muta Micro is so fun. Maybe Wraith Micro is actually funner than Muta Micro, but as a Zerg player, I gotta go with Muta.
Dude, I fucking suck at Wraith Micro. I wish I could do Wraith Micro super good, but like anytime I ever go Wraiths, they're just like, I don't have enough to back it up, so they're like, oh yeah, like 2 Goliaths, you're dead. And I'm like, damn it. I just wasted all that money. Like
For me, Vultures.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100% as a Terran player.
I'm known as like a Vulture expert. I fucking find ways to eat probes for breakfast every time I play TVP.
Yeah, Vultures are super fucking fun.
The most satisfying thing in the game is killing probes.
I can agree with that.
I honestly, I think mine would be just tanks. That's honestly why I switched over to Terran, is just because I absolutely fucking love just setting up siege lines and watching. Like, as a kid, even when I was playing with like cheat codes and whatever the hell else, I would just build like 15,000 tanks and then like get them to 3-3, siege them all up in a line, and then if there's like 20 dragoons that like make their way down and all of them hit the same goon at the same time and it just pops in one shot, oh, so satisfying. Like, my text tone is the sound of a dragoon dying. Like, it's
What?
Yeah, dude, I fucking love that sound. It is so satisfying.
As far as my favorite unit to play against, I'm gonna have to go with Terran Bio. I hate Terran Mech. Terran Bio, like, if you mess up against a Terran Bio ball, I'm gonna make 11 more mutas, and I'm gonna come back in the game with those 11 mutas. Like, my muta control is really good. There's NSL clips of me controlling 2 groups of mutas at the same time. Like, I'm pretty confident in my muta control. But against a Terran Mech player, like, you make one mistake, I can't just make 10 mutas and win the game off of that. You make a mistake, you're behind, and you probably lose. So I hate playing against Mech.
Wait, so the follow-up was, what's our favorite unit to play against?
Yes. Like, just like to fight against, even if it's like just a composition or like however you want to
Or
interpret
like
it.
a micro battle or something like that.
Yeah.
I guess early game, I love it when Protoss makes Zealots. My
Yeah.
early game Marine control is really solid. Especially when I have to mix in a couple SCVs, I'm super solid at that.
Mhm.
I love when like Protoss goes 14 Zealot. I'm like, okay, cool, we eat that up for free. And if they make 2 or 3 Zealots and I eat them all up for free, I can just go FD and try to bust them if they take a Nexus. Like, I force them to play double gate before Nexus when I open like that.
Well, and that's such an intense.
Probably my
It's
favorite thing.
it's such an intense situation too, because like you have to like you've been. How long have you been playing? By the way, I don't.
I mean, on and off since I've been a young kid. I mean, definitely took many years off here and there,
Yeah.
but always find myself back to this amazing fucking game, dude.
So like at that point, like when you've played for that long, like SimCity is like second nature. Like, you know what buildings need to go where. Like having those micro holes for your Marines to go in and out so they stay alive, second nature. Things like that. If it's not second nature, having that zealot in your base, I mean, even if it is second nature, it's still fucking stressful having like multiple zealots coming in your base, especially if they know what they're doing as far as their control too. Because like a couple of zealots and a probe, if they're microed correctly and you mess up for half a second, that'll end the game. Like, and I've lost a lot of games like that.
You lose your first Marine when their Zealot probe comes. That's very difficult.
Yeah.
And then if they ever get 2 zealots tagged up together with the probe, that's very, very difficult. Very,
Yeah.
very difficult. You have to kill the first zealot before the second zealot gets there for you to
Yep.
take advantage.
I mean, the same thing can also be said too about like 4 pools and 5 pools and stuff, because that like you have to really know how to do shit with SCVs, and you have to you have to be extremely lucky and get like a first scout and like see exactly when they're coming down.
I feel like a decent Terran should never lose to a 4 pool or 5 pool. SCVs are just way too good of a unit.
It's only when you wall the natural, dude. When you wall the natural,
If you wall the natural, yeah, that's almost a free game. It's almost a free win. But if you don't wall the natural, I don't think a Terran should ever lose to a 4 pool.
That's fair. If you're not terrible at the game, I suppose that's probably fair.
It comes down to worker control. You have to have good worker control.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's really easy to block things with SCVs, and Marines get the free damage, and SCVs can actually fight as well.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact about worker control macro is like you stop, move, or stop command in front of units, and those units will then try and attack the units behind the SCVs, and then you can attack with the SCVs, and they won't retarget those SCVs. They'll still try and get past those SCVs, so your SCVs will do damage while these units are trying to get in and attack. Like there's a lot of little micro tricks you can do.
Wait, say that one more time. What do you do exactly?
So the way that priority works for units when you A-click is they will try to take out the closest and biggest threat.
Mm-hmm.
Workers are one of the lowest things on that totem pole. So if you have like a Marine behind a wall of SCVs,
Yeah.
once that Marine shoots, the AI registers that is the biggest threat. So as long as your SCVs aren't attacking and that Marine is, the Zerglings or Zealots or whatever will try to attack that Marine. At that point, you can then attack with your SCVs. They won't change target. They will still target that Marine or whatever they were targeting originally. Even if you re-A-click, that still seems the highest priority. So you can attack with your workers, and they'll just dance on the workers as they're getting hit by the workers.
Mm-hmm. But what was that about? Hitting stop or whatever?
What most people do is hit stop because it makes the workers stop in a perfect line. So you don't like A-click in with them. You want to move them into position and stop them so they just stop moving entirely, and that'll mess with the pathing. They will stay in a tighter line because if you A-click, they'll start to clump.
I thought you were talking about like moving shotting with like a SCV, like hitting stop instead of hitting like right-clicking it or A-clicking on the thing, and I was like, that
moving shotting is pretty simple. It's the same thing. You just A-click on the thing and right-click immediately, or however you want to do it.
Moving shotting with an SCV is pretty fucking
difficult,
hard.
but it's doable.
It's harder than probe and drone for sure.
Yep.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Because they have a lower range.
It's harder than Zealot even, and Zealot's pretty difficult.
They have a -1 range or some shit, don't they?
I don't know, man.
5 or something like that. They are technically a ranged unit. You can't hit things under Dark Swarm with them.
Is that true?
Yeah,
fuck.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
They are technically a ranged unit with like 0.5 range.
Oh, Zesky says zero range is what they're at.
Is it actually 0? Yeah, it's something. It's less than 1. I know that for a fact.
Well, I'll tell you guys this: if there's anybody that likes to fight with SCVs, it's fucking me, dude. There's never a bad time to pull the boys, bro.
I will tell you, I will die on this hill. SCVs are combat
well
units.
known for this.
SCVs are combat units.
I pull the boys whenever necessary, man. They're linebackers, man. They know how to fight.
No, that's fair.
There's an entire UMS game mode about using SCVs as actual linebackers to try and win goals. This has been known from the beginning of Brood War.
All right, so I do have another question. This is for more of like from you guys' perspective as like kind of playing it for a while, and this is geared more towards like newer people that may not play the game or may not have as much experience in the game, or maybe just starting out, whatever it is. Do you think people should focus on fundamentals like macro building, like just making sure that like your minerals are at low, your minerals are low, your supply count never gets blocked, like whatever it is, or if you should focus on build orders more so that stuff can be worked on naturally when they are first starting out, and why?
All right, my answer on that's going to be it's race dependent. Build orders matter more for certain races than others. As a Zerg player, once I get past 5 minutes in the game, I have no idea what I'm doing. I know general timings. I play off general timings. I know my Hydra needs to go down around now. My mutas are hitting. I've done this damage. My Hydra needs to go down. Or it's now, it feels like this timing I need to start going towards Hive in case he's getting this tech or that tech. Like, I don't think build orders are as important for a Zerg player past like your first initial build order. I think Terran and Protoss are a bit tighter.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't necessarily know that this is kind of a cop-out answer, but I think my answer is going to be, I don't think either's better. I think you should play the way that makes you enjoy the game more. Some people like crunching out and getting build orders down perfectly. Like it's a big achievement for me when I first hit when I hit my first 251 layer. I was excited about that. But some people aren't going to get that same excitement. So maybe it's not a good idea for them to grind out game after game after game, just working on a builder that might kind of push them away from wanting to play it. It feels like a chore. So I think my actual answer is going to be it's dependent on the player. As for what I think is best, I think it's dependent on the race. I don't think build orders matter as much for Zerg, so I don't think you should focus on build orders for Zerg. But Terran and Protoss, a lot of their builds are build order based, like timing pushes, things like that.
I have a different answer. So I think you should have a general sequence of what order of buildings should be built. There shouldn't be timing set in mind because the game is very fluid and the game has many fucking there's a lot of flexibility that happens in games where it's going to change. And if you're like, okay, 23, I build depot, 25, I build this, 27, I build that. Like, okay, what about the early game? There was a pro harassing you, all of a sudden you killed an SCV, and then there was a Zealot fight in the early game. Like, or that's in TVP, for instance. It could be TVZ. Oh, he went 9 pool, so I lost a couple units in the early game to Lings. Like, so I don't think if you're new to the game, you should ever think of the game as like strict build orders, like by like supply counts or anything like that. Even timings can be very flexible because depending on how the openers go, timings will be changed. So things will be delayed. Some things may be actually accelerated depending on if there was no damage taken to you hitting all your cycles perfectly to there was damage taken and maybe you missed a couple cycles. So I think as a new player to StarCraft, you should think of it as sequence. Like, okay, I know I need depot, then I need barracks, then I need factory, or then I need gas, then I need factory, then I need blah 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 X, Y, and Z. For Zerg, it's probably very similar. For Protoss, it's probably very similar. Like, okay, I researched Storm. What's the next stick I need in PvZ? Oh, I need to start getting observers because they're gonna have lurkers soon. I should build my robo. Really quick, just what's up, pathetic? Yo, Jiraiya, thank you for the fat fucking ray, baby. Welcome everybody.
Yeah, I see that 39 people.
We're in a little podcast right now with Nakabroodwar and Deadweight8. Thank you, Deadweight, for setting this all up.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, going back to my point, so I think there should be a sequence in mind, like a game plan, like, oh, I'm going to be doing this order of things, but you should never think of it as very strict. As for just common things for anybody learning the game, make workers, try not to get supply blocked, spend your money, and there was a fourth point here that I remember talking to with somebody about. I think it had to do with expanding. I can't remember the fourth point, but the 3 key ones were just constantly make workers, like just focus on making your workers, focus on not getting supply blocked, focus on spending your money, keeping that low. And yeah, I believe the last one was someone saying scout in the chat. It could be scouting. Scouting is actually really important. The thing is, when you're at a low level, even if you scout well, you don't really know what the fuck you're seeing anymore.
Yeah, you don't know what you're looking for and how to react.
That was my biggest problem. Like when I first started out, I was literally going to the Zerg's base, and I was like, oh, yep, there they are. That's them in the corner right there. That's all I got.
I think number 4 was expand. I'm pretty sure number 4 was expand. And this was like something I was teaching like CPLers that were like fucking just learning the game, or like F rank type of stuff. Like with these statements I just mentioned right now.
I'm going to agree. I think that the most important thing, if you're coming into this game brand new, the most important thing you can ever do, make workers nonstop. That's the one thing you should always practice. Even if you can't spend your money, even if you don't have a build order, if you can get down the timing to constantly produce workers, you're going to be leagues ahead of everyone for probably until that B rank. That's when people start getting more consistent with their workers. Like you'll be just ahead by just making just workers. Yeah, it's a game about economy, and especially with Zerg or with Protoss and Terran, Zerg's a little bit more funny because you have to make units or workers depending.
I remember something. Also, learning building placement, like not necessarily like to the point where it's like, oh, like I need micro holes and whatnot, but like just making sure, like making your macro life easier. You know, like a lot of people when they first play, they just throw down buildings sporadically throughout their map, bro. It looks like someone got a paintbrush and just like slapped it on a fucking canvas. Shit everywhere, dude.
Especially for Terran, dude, because like all your supply depot, they have the biggest footprint of any race. Like those depots take up a fuck ton of space.
It's hard to macro as a Terran. It's hard to fit everything in a base.
And like building placement and stuff, that's easy, bro. Like all you got to do is like just literally spend like 30 minutes just studying a couple pro gamers, watching their games, dude, and just like replicate it. You know, like pick a map that you're trying to learn and just like watch them play the map a couple different positions or whatnot, or I'm sure there's even like Google Images at this point for like Sim Cities and shit like that.
If there isn't, we definitely should be getting somebody should be getting those out there. But
They're
Like,
definitely
for
definitely were
my
at one
CPL
point.
team, bro. I literally took the time to map out like turret placement in walls for every single CPL map for the naturals and where to build your turrets.
Yeah,
Against for a TVZ matchup, he's like, there was a lot of questions about where to build turrets and how to sim city,
and that leads a little bit, just really quick, just since you did touch on CPL and everything, just like kind of one thing I wanted to kind of plug a little bit. If you're new to the game and you're trying to figure out what to do or how to get into it, or if you think it's like, oh, I don't have any friends, I don't know anybody in the scene, whatever it is, I started in Brood War, if you will, like 6 or 7 months ago. Like, that's it. That's how long I've been doing it. I didn't know a soul in the community. I didn't know a single fucking person. And like, here we are having a fucking talk show. So like, go and join CPL. Go and get on Reddit. Talk to some folks on Reddit. There's plenty of different places that you can get on. I know that Nom is a very inviting team as well for newer players. So yeah, definitely check out CPL, the Reddit for Brood War, and Nom if you can. But mainly try to get into CPL. It's a great asset to have. But anyway, sorry, you can continue your point. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I just wanted to make sure we got that plug out there.
No, I'm gonna agree with the CPL thing. It's been around for a long time, and its entire purpose was originally to help North American players get into the scene. It's since expanded worldwide. I don't think we actually allow Koreans, but outside of that, it's worldwide. It's a great.
It's not the Koreans. We got fucking Doodle in there.
Oh, is he
Doesn't he
from
live
Korea?
outside of Korea?
Well, I see what you mean. Like just like if you're born outside of Korea
Yeah,
or don't live in Korea, as I was
I
saying.
think it's if you don't live in Korea. Although I could be wrong on that. But I like Brood War Clan League, the BWCL doesn't allow Koreans, people who live in Korea.
Well, and don't we
Right,
have the guy that he's the one that Jinjin, isn't he Korean?
Oh, Jinjin's put up a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
I think the Jinjin stuff is probably a little bit more for like maybe once you get to like C rank, it's probably when those videos start making a little bit more sense to you because you can consistently hit your workers. You maybe not even consistently hit your workers yet, but you're a little bit better at consistently hitting your workers.
Pretty
you're
close
a
to
little bit better
consistent.
at getting you're not getting supply blocked, and
Yeah.
you're a little bit more clean about having a game plan going into games. But once you get to like around C, I'd say like Jinjin's videos are fantastic because a lot of it is all this pro gamer translated VODs of their build orders and their thought process and what they're seeing and how they're reacting and why they're reacting the way they're reacting and stuff like that. It's all very, very good stuff.
A big,
especially when higher levels, it's really, really helpful as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. A big change for me, as far as like when I was, learning and kind of starting out and everything, was actually the principles like you just said, where just like making sure your money's low, making sure you don't get supply blocked, making sure all of your buildings are producing something, and then spending it however you can, expanding when you start to run out of money. Just expand. Do that on a single player map for hours and hours and hours. Something pretty cathartic actually about just having all your shit just producing at the same time and trying to get to max as fast as possible. Because I started out by just focusing on a build order, right? I went on Liquidpedia, found a build order, and I was like, that's the one I'm doing.
Wikipedia's so out of date.
I know. Well, and not only is it out of date, but it's like you were saying a couple seconds ago, Lovesnow. It's like, what would happen to me is I would have that down pat, and I'd be like, all right, I'm ready to go. Let's jump into ladder. Let's do this. And then I'd get 9-pooled, or I'd get proxy rushed, or I'd like some bullshit would happen, and it would throw the whole thing off. And now I'm like, well, okay, now I don't have as many workers as I'm supposed to, so my income's not right. So I can't really hit this timing to make this build order work. So now what the fuck do I do? And then you just are fumbling in the dark.
There's some merit to learning a build order for exactly that reason. For when you get 9-pulled, you get things like that. You're gonna be more like, it's gonna be more second nature when to put down buildings. So you're able to micro into these other things and not worry about them, not think ahead of like, what do I need next? What do I need next? I think it's part of why people used to hype on build orders so much and still do. But I'm gonna digress slightly here, and I think it's a trap that a lot of new players do fall into. As you see these pro games, or you see like especially back in the old day with like Slayer's Boxer. Boxer was a great player, but he wasn't amazing. His lure was he was fancy. He had the coolest micro tricks. He pulled out the coolest stuff, and people look at that and they want to do the same thing. But you're gonna get a lot further. You're gonna play a lot better if you just focus on your macro. Like if I have 24 hydras and I can make another 48, but I macro those 24 hydras to trade evenly, and now I don't have those 48 hydras, it'd be much better for me to lose those 24 hydras ineffectively and have 48 more coming in behind that, for as an example. Like making sure you're making your workers, making sure you're spending your money, those are way more important than these fancy micro things.
Yeah.
Back in the days, people used to hype APM, like just spam like crazy, make your fingers move faster, you'll just naturally play faster over time. I disagree with that, and I always have.
Dude, if you look at my first like CPL, like first game that was cast in CPL, like this last season, CPL 9, which was like my first ever time like really like doing anything like competitive, if you will. My APM at the very beginning of the game was like over 1,000 for no reason.
Like, back in the day, that was really hyped. People used to like that was the thing. Spam as much as you can, play as fast as you can, move his fingers as much as you can. And I disagree with that. It's going to make you make more mistakes.
Yep.
Your APM will naturally improve as you play more because you'll get more used to doing more and more things. So like this will become second nature. So now you're doing that in the background while you're focusing something else. That's going to bring your APM up more. Don't focus on your APM. Focus on your fundamentals. Your APM will naturally increase.
Yeah, I agree. Just because we are like, I was only going to kind of go till about 7:30, so I just wanted to ask one more question, and then we'll probably end there for the night. What is so what would you say is like something that like all newer players should be like prepared for, or like how to like set proper expectations for somebody that's playing into the game, and like how does that like continue on through the game as you get higher up in the ladder and higher in the ranks?
Okay, so first thing I would say is it's going to take time. You know, StarCraft is a game that has a lot of little moving parts to the big picture going on, dude. There's so many little intricacies going on in every single game. And a lot of people, when they first start playing, it might feel very overwhelmed with the game of Brood War. It's not like normal game, or not like how games are made nowadays. Like games nowadays are ease mode, dude. Like if you compare it to Brood War, it's so much easier. You got like 8 buttons, like you know, like, it's
like a McDonald's counter. You got the hamburger button, the fucking French fry button, like.
I mean, if you just think of it to like even League of Legends, like League of Legends has like maybe you'll get like 9 buttons if you have items that have triggers or something. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. You know, there's not a lot of buttons when you play a lot of the newer games that are out there. Like StarCraft, your whole keyboard, every single button almost has a function. You know, it's wild. And I would say it's going to take a lot of time. Mental state is very important when you play StarCraft. Like, just know, like, try to take the most out of every loss. Don't, like, ever get down on yourself. Don't ever make yourself feel bad about your performance. I mean, I even struggle with that sometimes. Like, I play a solid game for 30 minutes, I make one mistake, and I lose. I'm just like, fuck, dude.
Yep.
Can't believe me. I just threw this game, dude. Like, they call me the king of throws for that reason, man. I freaking will play solid games.
Dude, I'm
times and just throw it. But
I'm taking that title from you fast, man. You casted one of my games in particular where I did like some legendary fucking throws, dude. I was like way ahead, had like this crazy contain with like 100+ more units, and I moved in at the exact wrong time and just threw the whole fucking game for no reason.
Was that a TBT when you attacked into him?
Yeah, dude.
I think I remember this game.
Yeah, dude.
He's going wild. Yeah, dude. Just StarCraft is a game of you gotta just be tilt proof. You gotta just be focused and calm at all times, and you just gotta take every loss as what can I learn from this loss. And it's really it takes a lot of discipline to like want to watch your replays after you lose a game and try to see like, oh, where did it go wrong? Because sometimes it went wrong the whole game, but sometimes you can pick up on little points that it's like, oh shit, like maybe I shouldn't have attacked at this point. It's like I didn't have proper vision, or I didn't have full information, or maybe I just got a little too antsy. Like he did some damage to me, and I just got a little emotional about it. I was like, I gotta strike back because he damaged me, or you know, there's a lot of little things going on. There's a lot of mind games in StarCraft.
Or even you just misjudged. Like if you just don't know, like if you're not 100% sure that your army can beat his, but you think it can, and you push in and you made the wrong choice. I mean, that happens all the fucking time.
Yeah.
But do you have? What about you, Naka? Do you have anything to add on that one?
Yeah, I'm gonna add just slightly to one thing that Lovesnow brought up in talking about MOBAs and things like that. Brood War is a game where you're constantly in action. You look at things like MOBAs and they can last, 40 minutes an hour, but there's breaks in between the action. You're creep farming, you're doing these other things. You might be trading in your lane, sure, but there's slow moments. Brood War is 20 minutes of non-stop. You are constantly going. There is never a single moment in that game where you can just stop and take a breather and just, I'm going to relax and do this for a moment. The most relaxing you're going to get is macro cycles, but those are still a constant.
Unless you're a Protoss. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sorry, continue.
Unless you're a Protoss. Yeah, so expect that going into Brood War. It's a game that is very physically demanding in the sense of you have to be constantly doing something. Fighting games are like that as well, but a fighting match is usually a minute or two tops. FPSs, MOBAs, all these other types of games, they have moments where you're doing a lot at once and then moments where you're calmed down. There is never a moment of calm in Brood War. And then the second thing I'd add to that is just, especially starting out, you're going to lose. This game's 25 years old. People know what they're doing. Even if they're really bad, they have some experience and know what they're doing. You're going to lose. It's okay. We all lose. We all lose in the dumbest ways. We all lose to things that... Artosis has built a career over blaming his opponents for doing something dumb. Like this is a just fundamental part of Brood War. You're going to lose. You're going to feel like the loss was dumb. You're going to feel like you could have done better. You're going to feel like you could have beat your opponent. It's okay to lose. It's even better to lose and look at the replay and evaluate what you did wrong. But it's okay to lose. You're going to lose. The more you lose, the more you play, the better you're going to get. And eventually you're going to start winning more and more. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what your rank is. It doesn't matter how often you win, how much you're winning. Play the game. You're going to improve. Don't worry about wins. Don't worry about losses. You're going to lose. Mm-hmm. Just flat out. Especially if you're just coming in now, it's probably going to be 100 games before you win your first game, unless you're pulling some really cheesy stuff and happen to catch someone off guard. That's okay. Don't let that dishearten you. It's going to happen.
Yeah. That's some good points.
It's like a professional athlete, man. Like you just got to play against yourself. Just try to be better than you were the last game, every game you play. That's all you can really do. That's how you truly grind in StarCraft. Because at the end of the day, it is a grind, man. Like it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not just practice, but like
discipline.
Well, I'm looking for a word. I can't think of the word right now.
Shoot.
Like focus practice. Like you're not just ramming out 15 games in one day mindlessly. Like you're really thinking about what you're doing in every game, and you're thinking about why you're making the decisions you're making. You're thinking about what your opponent is doing and trying to find ways to counter what they're doing. You're not just you're not just going through the motions. Like StarCraft is a game where you really have to be, well, like Jiraiya is saying, like you have to be dedicated, you have to be commitment, you have to have intent.
Yeah.
Like that's good stuff to say, Jiraiya.
Well, and I think also just having a proper expectation when you go in, I think that's really the most important when you're like really new, like really, really new. Like I got into this by watching games, right? So like I got into StarCraft because I was watching all these pros do these sick fucking games and watching these like massive army battles and like battles for positioning on the map and like all this crazy tactical stuff. And it's like
you're playing and you're like, how do I even do any of this?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
how do I get to this point?
What do I do against this build? What do I do when he does this? Like, why are my units not moving? Why is this thing not mining? Why is this thing not doing this? Like, all that stuff happens, and it's because even to the people that are like really fucking good at the game, like those people are on another level. They are another planet. They should not even be compared to modern, like to regular people. Like I'll just say it. Like pros.
This is true of any competitive game. The top 0.01% are infinitely better than the top 0.1%. Like there's such a massive skill gap in that small era that it's insane. And that's throughout all of Brood War, it's going to be the same, all the way down to the lowest of low ranks, because it's such a skill-intensive game. 100 MMR is an astronomical difference in skill.
Yeah, Day 9 kind of said it perfectly in the Let's Learn StarCraft videos, where he was like going in and seeing like somebody like Jaedong and Bisu and being like, they're really successful, so I want to do that. It's like going into the gym and seeing the dude lifting 500 pounds. Like, your arms are going to fall off. You can't fucking, you can't lift that. Like, it's not going to work. You know, like, it takes time. So, well, I really, really appreciate you guys both coming on for my first ever talk show cast thing of this. Hopefully it continues, and hopefully we can get some more folks on here. Hopefully you guys had a good time as well. I really, really appreciate you guys' input and appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
So, if you want to join next time, just go to, you can go onto my twitch.tv/deadweight8, and you can shoot me a message on there if you'd like to join and talk. This is anybody, F rank all the way to S rank. I don't care who you are. If you want to join in, you want to just bullshit about StarCraft, that's what this is about. So, yeah, and definitely. Oh, thanks for the plug, dude. I really appreciate it. And if you want to check out.
Yeah, Nakabroodwar.
And if you want to check out their stuff, if you're not seeing the links that Lovesnow's putting in his little tiny chat, his little tiny video box up there in slot 2, down below me, check out their Twitches. Go give them a follow, give them a sub, all that kind of stuff. Just keeps promoting the scene. So,
Yep.
Alrighty.
CPL is great. Join NSL too, guys. NSL
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah. There's a lot of community stuff going on. There's always more Brood War, even if it feels like it's an old game. Like, there's always something. So.
Yeah, dude, I know Naz is like doing their fucking tournaments now too, kind of similar to NSL, but they stick to like ladder maps. Like, there's all these clans that like doing a bunch of shit now.
Yeah.
See, I gotta
War
get
is active as heck.
I gotta get into more of the clan stuff, dude. Because like Nom's the first clan I ever even knew of that would take like foreigners. So.
Well, BWCL is always looking for more Little League people, so you can hop in there as a start.
Yeah. BWCL has like a bracket now where they have people that are clanless playing in it.
FNA.
Yeah, I don't remember who. I don't know if it's us hosting that at Nom or if it's another clan that's hosting it officially, but like it's made up of a bunch of clans people and people who don't have enough in their clan to fit in, things like that. So
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Well, again, thank you both so much for coming on to the first cast, and for everybody watching and listening, thank you very much for watching and listening, and I suppose see you next time.
thank you all.
Thank you, Deadweight, for setting all this and organizing it. It was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime, dude.
Appreciate you bringing me out.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Oh, not anytime. Every Friday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. So not anytime. But all right. See you guys.
Yeah, thanks, man. See ya.
man. GG.